Hey guys, this is Calvin with Improver, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with creating an improvement plan or improvement target in Improver. So when you first log in, this is the first screen you're going to see. This is actually a Kata card feature. It's just a simple workflow, guides you through the process of creating your improvement target. And this takes about 3 minutes, more or less. It helps if you know what your target is going to be in advance, and just going through the process is really quick and easy. Let's get started. So the first thing you'll see is this screen. You hit the start button, and it actually wants to take you through a tutorial for the improvement kata. As Improver is strongly based on the 4 disciplines of execution and Toyota kata. But if you're not interested in going through all that, or you've seen it before, you can just skip the tutorial and it takes you right into the process of creating a challenge. On this first card, you want to set a challenge that is about a year in scope. Of course, you may have a broader vision or mission for your company or for yourself. But on this screen, you just want to scope it down to about a year. What would you define as wildly successful a year from now? Let's say for Mr. Abraham Lincoln here, wildly successful is to lead the market in service delivery time. A caveat here, if Mr. Lincoln has a manager in the system and his manager already has a next target condition, what Improver will do is automatically pull in that manager's target to become Abraham's challenge. This is a very simple and seamless way for Improver to help cascade priorities from person to person. And then Mr. Lincoln, all he would have to do is go in and set his target and he's off and running. Since in this case, he doesn't have a manager in place, we'll just go ahead and create a challenge for him and hit next. Now he wants to create a title for the target. This is sort of the working title. This is how you would communicate in more informal channels what you're focused on. The target condition would be something scoped down. Of course, your challenge is about a year in scope, but if you're a leader in the company, you might want a target that's going to be 3 to 6 months into the future to deliver. If you're a sort of middle manager, you might be looking more like a month or two or a quarter. If you're a sort of frontline supervisor, you might be looking at a month. And if you're a individual contributor, you might be looking at just a few weeks for your target. So let's just say that Mr. Lincoln here is a more executive level leader, and he's going to set his target at 6 months in scope. And the title of his target is to decrease production lead time to 14 days. With that said, the name of his metric, of course, is lead time, and that's going to be measured in days. And target quantity is 14. And then he's going to set a frequency. Now, by default, it's going to suggest a weekly frequency. This is in alignment with the 4 disciplines of execution method of driving improvement and driving execution. So this would be, hey, we're going to meet with our manager once a week. We're going to talk about what we did, what we learned from it, what we're going to do next, and so forth. Let's leave his frequency at weekly. Now, this setting also drives a few other things, such as the achieve by date. It's going to assume about 7 weeks. If you were to change that to daily, it's going to assume about 7 days for it achieved by date. Again, of course, you can change that to suit your specific needs. So let's go ahead and hit next. The next thing it's going to want to know is, what is the current state of operations? So again, we're measuring lead time in days, weekly, and what's the current state of operations? Right now, let's say we're at 25 days. Next. Then it wants to know what's the next action you're going to commit in order to drive lead time down. Again, it's trying to hook you into action, because as we all know, without action or change, there can be no improvement. So let's say that the first action here is we're going to start tracking lead time for each order shipped. Now, what do we expect to happen from this action? We're going to see a reduction in lead time just for the simple fact that we're now focused on it, right? So let's hit next. Okay, and that's it. That's the process. Even with me talking through it, it really just took a few minutes. If you came in with data ready to go, knowing exactly what you wanted to do, you can really complete that in about 2 or 3 minutes. You're off and running. Let's walk through what that actually just showed you. So now Mr. Lincoln went from having really no plan of improvement for himself, or no declared plan for improvement. Now he has a challenge in place to lead the market in service delivery time. His next target is to get to 14 days. It assumes about 7 weeks, so this takes us out to about 320, although you can adjust that date back or forth if you see appropriate. So let's give him a few more days here, and then it keeps track of where you started. At 25, you're currently at 25, you just started, and then you're trying to get to 14. It's keeping track of how much progress you've made. It's also keeping track of your deadline. So it knows you started today and you're going to go to 325. So it's giving you a tracking for that as well. So your to target and your to deadline both start at 0. And they should stay relatively close together all the way up to 100%. If those start to get out of sync, then you know you're either way ahead or way behind. You got your data point here. This is your actual 25, and it knows you're trying to decrease down to 14 days here. As you scroll down, you see log of experiments. You haven't completed anything yet. We'll talk that in the next video here, completing items. But it does know that you have a plan, a commitment for action. That commitment is to start tracking lead time for each order shipped. And what you expect to happen here is that lead time will be reduced to 19 days. It's got a few other things here, some suggested videos or content that you can watch that may help drive improvement. Here's an example for a video on how to reduce lead time. Since you are focused on lead time, it's trying to help you out. It's got your results achieved in the past, which are none since you just got started. And then it's got your coin ledger that shows what you've earned coins for. Hope you liked the video. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out at Impruver.com. And if you need to, you can reach us here, chat with Coach, drop us a message, and someone will reach out to you shortly. Have an amazing day. Thank you.